Good evening. I'd like to call to order our July 9th, 2024 review session. Madam Treasurer, may I have a roll call?
President Smith,
Present.
Ms. Wick,
Present.
Dr. Goodwin,
Here.
Dr. Bailey,
Here.
Mr. Lacy,
Here.
Mr. Walker,
Present.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Present.
7 in attendance.
Thank you. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of Allegiance.
Justice for all.
You be trying to beat me to it before we get there. Before we head into the superintendent's recommendations, Madam Treasurer, did anyone come out to speak this evening? Or register to speak this evening?
No.
Okay.
Oh. Do you have anything? No. Okay. So we will have one person.
Okay. We have, is that mic right there already on? Okay. Let's come up. As always, you have 3 minutes. You state your name and address the board as a whole through the president. I think Mr. Ezra already knows the rest. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Let me get my little timer going. David Ezrati, 113 Bonner Street, Dayton, Ohio. I'd like to talk to you about your RFP process. It's overly complicated. You have a 58-page RFP, including 15, quote, attachments. No actual submission plus attachments, just 15 attachments. The process involves other organizations that you want all your potential vendors to fill out things with minority business contracting with the city. They're not part of your organization and they don't get back to you very quickly. It is a convoluted document that was sent out. There are no less than 3 different attachments or sections or whatever you want to call this, 3 documents that talk about the scope and size of the project. Not 1, but 3, and they sort of contradict themselves. If you are wondering why no local organizations other than mine bid, this is a big part of it. You've made it overly complicated. I dare all of you to go and look at these 15 attachments and documents and try to figure out what exactly they're asking for. And then think about how much extra work it is to sit there and make it through all 15 of these and score them on a rubric and figure out what apples to apples, oranges to oranges, and what the goal is. This was a request for someone to help you with, quote, digital marketing to build enrollment. There are multiple problems with the idea of a digital marketing campaign to reach a community that has a digital divide. You all know that during COVID, a lot of students had to get hotspots. A lot of students don't have computers. Their parents don't have computers. And then on top of it all, a lot of digital marketing in the conventional sense, because I can go out and spend $70,000 on digital ads in a minute, a lot of it ends up on premium subscription services, which a lot of your parents won't have. It is not a solution. If you want to get to the crux of the issue on why you're having problems with enrollment, not only did I put that in my response, but you can easily go and look at your enrollment page on your website and try to watch that video and try to figure out how many hoops you're trying to make these people jump through. And then go look at Emerson Academy, for instance, their enrollment form. One page, online, you don't have to print anything out, you don't have to make appointments, do all these things, go to the doctor's office and have them sign something. They make it easy and simple. This is user interface
Mr.
design.
Azarati, you're over 3 minutes, so.
All right.
Just your final thoughts.
The final thoughts are, there were 8 people that spent a lot of time submitting to your format. None of them have been told anything since they turned them in, which was in April. They were supposed to be awarded before May and started in June. We're heading to July. Still no communication from the district at all that you've selected a firm. That's not how you treat future partners or potential partners if you want to have people submitting, especially if you're looking for local and minority-owned businesses, which are stated to be your goals. So, process often comes before anything else, and you have to look at your internal processes as causing part of the reason people aren't interested in working with you. It's
Mr.
too
Azarati,
complicated.
you
Thank
have
you.
the floor.
And Dr. Goodwine, real quickly, I thought Mr. Smith was the president of this board. Am I mistaken? Because you're telling me the time and when to
Mr.
stop.
Azarati, that's your
That's-
time.
That's his job. Last I checked.
Madam Treasurer, do we have anyone else?
No.
Thank you. Now we can move over to superintendent recommendations.
I recommend approval of the following human resources superintendent's recommendations for a vote.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second that. Any questions on the motion?
Yeah.
Mr. Walker?
Okay. Has there been an update on how many more academic coordinator positions there are to be filled?
OEC or curriculum, or both?
I mean, every agenda now has had an academic coordinator either leaving or getting hired, and I'm just curious of how many FTE roles exist in the academic coordinator world.
We can get that for you.
Okay, yeah, I asked for that at the last month's meeting as well.
Yeah, in fact, we'll have it to you tomorrow morning. I'll ask Amit where we are in terms of FTEs
Okay, and
that we're paying, not that we're budgeting for.
perfect. And then can I pull the E.J. Brown position until after executive session?
That's fine. Any other questions? Dr. Goodwine?
Yes, I do want to know, so I did ask this question in writing, and I just kind of just want some clarification because it wasn't specific. The difference between a senior academic coordinator and a academic coordinator, can that be explained, please?
Yeah, additional duties based on the supervisor, based on the department, and based on the needs for that year.
Can you give me an example?
Senior academic coordinator has district level responsibilities. They typically may be mandated to work on different things like National History Day, National Science Fair, Math Olympics, poetry. They may be the facilitator for all those type of events or any other after-school activities.
So are we saying that academic coordinators don't do that as well?
They participate in the process, but they may not lead the process.
Yeah, I also would be interested to see the actual amount of positions that we have budgeted. Actually, Madam Treasurer, these positions, are we within our budget for the amount that continue to come?
The positions are within the budget.
Okay. And then I had a follow-up on elementary, the requests that was made regarding the specials for K through 6. I do see that there's a music teacher at River's Edge, and that's really good, but is there an update on if we are able to seek to see if those positions, if we could even offer those positions?
Not at this time.
When will we could expect an update? Because it's been about 2 months now since we had this last conversation.
We can respond before the next board meeting.
All right.
Any other, Mr. Walker?
Can I also pull item 15 until after executive session?
That is fine as well, sir.
And then my last question is, there's a item 74, where is this back paying this individual? Okay, so how does, okay, so it's a yes. I guess I'm curious now on, does this affect what the board policy that was put in place about back paying and things like that? And if the principal just submitted that, why so late in the year of submitting when now we're in a new fiscal year as of July 1? So can I pull that one to come back next week?
Now, you can't pull it, you would have to table it, sir.
Okay, so I would like to, it's, Dr. Jones, do you, or Dr. Davis, do you need that tonight, or can I put a motion out there to table it for next week? Yes. Okay.
Now, so are we saying is
Lacy
it this
and
person's
Smith.
fault, or is it
Right.
that person's superior that's at fault?
So it's not that individual's
Okay.
fault. But I do, and not to step on toes or anything, if we table it for next week, I don't know that payroll could turn it around that quickly for pay next Friday.
If it's a payroll week, yes.
It's a payroll week next week, and so we could table it until next week, and that individual will get paid on Friday still.
Well, let's do this. I'm fine with going through with it. I just would like an explanation as to why are we in July, a new fiscal year, and this was for January through April. Why is it so late in being submitted? So I'm fine with voting on it tonight. I just would like an update as to why it's so late.
The information I was provided by the staff members in the Human Resources Department is that these items are late because they were given to us late. The ones that are dated 5/29 to 6/13, that is a correction. The first information we received for those was dated incorrectly. You'll also see them in the remove previous board action section. And then the other ones that are dated, like the 110, the one you're questioning, that's because they were just received by us. So they were submitted to us late, which is why they're being placed on there.
Okay, so
No.
perfect. I appreciate that. Thank you. So Dr. Lawrence, my question would be if you can just follow up with that administrator as to why it's so late in the year of submitting that. Appreciate it. Thank you, Dr. Davis.
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Jones.
Any other questions?
Quick question.
Mr. Lacy?
The summer intensive teacher, is that the third grade reading? Or you can get back to me. Oh, it's all the supplementals.
The
It's most
supplementals.
of the supplementals.
Oh. Yes, those are for all summer activities, not just third grade.
Okay.
All literacy-based summer activities.
And gear summer program?
Gear at International, we do that in the morning.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Mm-hmm.
Regarding, not the ones that Dr. Davis just spoke to about them putting in, actually those two, what steps are we taking to get accurate information since we've changed over now about a year that we've given 2 opportunities to do HR items, but it seems that we continue to have errors repeatedly, not only with the ones on here that the date is incorrect, but then also you have individuals who are missing deadlines. Like, we passed a resolution to stop doing back pay for the very reason to ensure that people did it on time. And if we continue to do these type of things and there are no consequences for the individuals who are holding us up, they will continue the process, which we're in July now, and in December, we passed a resolution to stop doing back pay. And yet, 6 months later, we are still doing back pay for individuals. So what are the consequences that are going to occur to the individuals who are not following the established processes that you guys have for submitting these things timely and getting them here?
Well, the established processes, for decades, this has been an issue, and I would say, I'll respond to that by saying that upon Dr. Davis's arrival, we sat the other day and agreed that we're going to try to be one of the first in a long time to establish a deadline that says you can no longer submit information after a certain date, and that gives HR an opportunity to actually work through this so there aren't errors. I think the reason there are errors through HR, any of these things that you see on here, because things are submitted at the last minute, entire teams are rushing. So that's our goal.
And people who miss that deadline, like, what's happening to them?
At this point, we haven't issued any written warnings to people who have missed their deadline. We want to communicate to everyone that we have a new HR director and that we want to have some set dates and times. Purchasing needs to relay that as well, and then we'll go from there. Sure, please.
One of the things we've discussed in HR and in our negotiations is actually having those supplementals filled at the beginning of the school year. So there's going to be a drop dead date, I think it's sometime in September, for filling all of those supplemental slots. And so that should help alleviate a lot of the late submissions. Just identifying those individuals earlier.
I hear you guys. Is the part, though, the people who keep missing all the stuff that you guys keep putting in place is the bigger issue for me, because at some point, it is the person that is willfully choosing not to adhere to what you guys are telling them are deadlines, and then those are coming out to us. If no corrective action is occurring, you can't change a person's behavior because you give them a new process necessarily. You have to change the behavior and nip this off. There has to be a consequence if, after all the things that the 3 of you guys have put out here of what the deadline is, how to meet the deadline, if they are continuing to still miss those points, despite all your effort, something has to occur of a disciplinary nature to do something to get them corrected. Otherwise, we're just talking back and forth again about creating another process to try to get this right. So I'm not talking about the individuals who are adhering to what you guys are putting in place through that. I'm talking about the actors that are not doing those things, and we are continuing the cycle. Because again, this is 6 months later from when the last time we said that we weren't going to do back pay, and every HR recommendation since has had a back pay on it.
Moving forward for the then and nows, if any of them are submitted late, they have to get approval from the superintendent to be added to the agenda. And if they are approved to be added on the agenda, the individual who submitted them late will have to come and justify that themselves to the board. Legally, we have to pay people for the work that they've done. And so, as you previously stated, we can't hold them responsible for the person submitting it late, but the person who submitted it late, when we've given them ample time to submit it and told them the deadlines, they need to come to you and explain that. So that's going to be a process moving forward in terms of them speaking to you and justifying why they're late. I can't tell you why they're late. It's my first board meeting. All of these happened prior to me. So I will make due diligence in terms of communicating to individuals, but the things that are coming late, we have no control over. They are literally submitting them to us now, things that have taken place months ago. And I think that once they see that they have to speak to you, where we're not taking the heat for something that we didn't do, and they're actually having to plead their case to you, I think that will change things.
I like it.
Bring them up front, stand on what they did. But if it becomes a repeat thing, I hope you guys take appropriate action to stop allowing these people to be in leadership positions who can't adhere to simple deadlines. Agreed.
Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
Okay, we voting with the exception of E.J. Brown, number 15 and 74.
No, 74 is fine.
74 is fine?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation, please.
I recommend approval of the 48-hour waiver to present the following limited contract.
Before you do that, only question. So the contracts before B, are those all just for review?
Yes.
Skip down to
I'm sorry,
C.
yeah. Yes, the contracts are just for review.
Did
Thank
you
you.
did you want to go, since you put it up, you just want to go ahead with
let me-
48 hour?
Yeah, no, yeah, let
You
me,
want to go back?
let's go back to the contracts.
All right. Contracts
Please
are
see
there.
contracts for review.
Any questions?
You know, we switched up over here. I do have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
Can I have an actual, like, report on effectiveness of X-Tech partners? I do know that system frequently goes down throughout the district, and I just would rather see how effective it actually is, or do we need to move into a different direction before approving more funding for this program?
Any other questions? Dr. Goodwin?
Can we have an update on where we are in the cafeteria's design? So the one on here for now, where is this actually, or what is this one covering? And then where are we actually in the transformation process of the cafeterias from elementaries through the high schools being refreshed?
So you would like the specific buildings?
With this, the PR that we're doing, that we'll do next week, what does this one cover? And then kind of an update of the ones, this has been at least several year project now of us refreshing. How many have we done? How many do we have to go? And what is the timeline for that?
And you know what, I can get more specific answers for you, but the Radius Design Project for Phase 1 are complete. We're waiting for fabrication, and then the work will begin. Phase 2 designs are in the process. And then in terms of LTI, the high school project has been stalled due to the contractor being unable to find anyone to write the specs for the equipment, so that we were able to pull it out for bid. But we're working on finding someone to assist in that endeavor.
Okay. And then on the, what's it called? This Our School Today, this sports hub, what is that exactly? It's the one right under the Radius.
Oh, that's
That's PIO.
PIO, but it's to have our own athletic pages on each high school page.
Okay, so is this an extension to the website redesign?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay, and then finally, on the Dumbtech Inc., the digital marketing one, how is this different? I know we did web services. Is this I think we did marketing in the past. How is this contract different than what we are already getting?
I don't know if it's different, Dr. Goodwin. I think the board approved up to $250,000 for us to go out for a marketing contract, and Datum Tech is what we went with, and they're focusing on marketing efforts, digital redesign, and also recruiting and retaining students.
Okay, Can I get a number of where we are and the amount that we approved for you guys to go? And just, if there's any idea of how you're gonna utilize whatever's remaining in that balance?
So you want an amount that we've utilized out of that 250?
Yes.
Okay, it's 71,000, I'll say.
Is that the only amount, the 71?
That, yeah, I don't think we've done any other work with that, but I will double check with PIO.
And if not, then kind of what the plans are to utilize the remaining funds for you all for that, for the marketing services?
I don't think we've had any conversations about the remaining funds. I don't think we're going to use them, but I will get with PIO.
All right, thank you.
All right.
That's all for me.
Any other questions on the motion?
It's not a motion.
That's not a motion.
No, I mean, on the 4 contracts.
Yeah, can I just have some information on the datum tag on if they're worked with any other district, their success rates on, I guess, their marketing campaigns, and what exactly will they do?
Any other questions?
Oh, and a follow-up on that, I guess the reason for utilizing them for digital marketing when we just approved at the last meeting some funding for marketing on billboards and things like that as well. So is this doubling down on that as well? If that could just be included in there, that would be great.
Sure.
Any other questions on contracts?
Oh, yes, sorry. I see the behavioral services on here as a contract. Has there been any update regarding children's and the resiliency coordinator contracts and things like that?
We had a meeting with them the other day. 12 coordinators and I think 8 therapists is where we are. We're still negotiating the price right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Seeing no other questions, please understand you still have time until next week. If board members reach out to questions, I will ask our staff to ensure that we get those answers back in time to be prepared for our next meeting to vote on that. Next recommendation, Dr. Lawrence.
My next recommendation is I recommend the approval of the 48-hour waiver for the contracts.
So move.
I'll second that. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next on you, Dr. Lawrence.
I recommend approval of the contract, limited contract for a vote.
So moved.
I'll second it. Any questions?
Yes, can I
Yes.
pull this into after exec?
That's fine.
Or was you going to say something different?
Well, no, I got a question on it. You still can pull it,
Ah,
but
yeah.
I got a question on it. Because we approved, so I have 2 questions. One, why do we have a contract before us when we did already approve an hourly rate in May? That's my first question. And then 2, the contract date says from June 1st through June 30th, but at our meetings, it was stated that Ms. Davis didn't start till June 15th. So is the dates correct? So I have 2 questions for that one.
The dates are arranged, and Dr. Davis didn't come on board until after the 15th. The range was just to be safe. And the reason it's on is we had up to 15 days, and so this is the way we put it on. We probably could have put it on differently. I've been watching the exchanges between Treasury and HR, but we put it on this way, so we want to bring it to a vote so she can get paid.
So is the way we did initially, was that, I guess it's more for Treasury, not you, Dr. Lawrence, the way that we approved, because it was for an hourly rate that we approved for Dr. Davis, did they do something incorrect? I'm just trying to understand why we are doing redundant work.
The reason why it is Dr. Davis wasn't hired, her starting date was for July 1st. So we cannot pay from supplemental. Supplemental is for employees, our employees. So this is a consultant services until she starts working.
Okay, so it was incorrect, the way it was put on the HR agenda, in a nutshell.
I don't know who did it,
Well,
but
no,
yeah,
I-
it is
yeah.
incorrect.
So do we need to avoid this in the future, because this may not be the only time this happened, is that a policy that needs to be there for individuals to know that non-employees cannot hold supplemental contracts?
Yes, or we can have a policy or regulation. You don't have to have a policy, regulation will
Okay, so
do.
can I just ask Treasury to put that together and just bring that to the policy committee, whichever way, where it falls under?
I
So we can
can,
avoid this?
I can.
Mr. Walker, do you still need a table?
You good. We can vote on it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Next recommendation?
Not a recommendation, just a memorandum of understanding, Wright State, Boone Childs School of Medicine, MOU for review.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none?
Nope, that's the question.
Oh, where at?
Down here.
All right.
Okay, first question, did this MOU go through our legal department?
Yes.
Okay, and is there a cost to the MOU?
No.
And can you just give us just a little bit of information on how beneficial this has been to the international school?
This is only the second year, so we don't have 3 years of data, nor was it measured last year when I was a business manager. So Hubert Matimani has been assigned to measure it this year using qualitative and quantitative data, so I won't be able to tell you till the end of this year.
Okay, and as our scholars, they leave the international school, will they still be able to participate in the program?
I'm sorry?
As they leave the international school and they return to their home schools, will they still be able to participate in the mentorship program?
Then I'll have to ask the chief academic officer. I think I have to ask the chief academic officer.
Okay, and the program occurs outside of school hours, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, this concludes your recommendations for today, sir.
It does, President Smith.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer.
Okay. All mine are for review. And 3A and B, they go together. The appropriation and the certificate of estimate resources. So we only amending this one because for grant funds, we see the grant funds are a little bit increased, so we are increasing our grant funds for 509, 516, and 572 by $329,000. The same amount for the certificate for the B. Those are the only change we're making.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, next recommendation.
Okay. 3C is monthly financials. This is a space holder for June 2024. And the Finance Committee is going to meet on Thursday, and it will be approved next Tuesday. We have minutes for June. I don't think you will have question on this one. We'll go to donations. We have 2 donations. Thank you, donors. One is from Deere for McKinney Bento, $74. The other one is from Medio and Entertainment, cash, $200. Thank you, until we send a letter.
Thank you. Next recommendation, Madam Treasurer.
Next one is purchase requisitions. These requisitions are from several departments, and let's look at them, and if you have any question, we will entertain.
If there are any questions on purchase requisitions, feel free to jump out there. We'll also give time to look over, and you have time before next week if there's any follow-up questions.
Can I just ask, what are the payment going to first student?
Which one is-
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question, sir?
Yeah, the PO for first student. On what are we actually using them for, or?
Oh, for the elementary routing, right?
And we're using it for charter school routing.
Yeah, elementary charters, yeah.
Yeah, elementary charter school routing, and then also for training for the routers. This is the third and final year of the contract.
So first student is training DPS routers?
If this is not the first student you think, it's the same name, but it's different. Same name, but different.
I believe one is LLC and the other one's
Yeah.
Inc. Yeah,
But they're still under the same umbrella, just separated out differently.
I'd have to do the research on that. I'll check.
Okay.
Yep.
With that, we're still looking, I know we talked about this in the past, but as this contract concludes, is the goal to continue with them beyond the third year or to go a different route?
No, the goal is to end their services after this year. When I first came as a business manager, we were changing from Versatran to, when we changed it, to Traversa, right? And so in that change, they needed that support in terms of training, and they also needed the offloading of those charter schools so that they could manage our routes. And so the routers, the three of them, they've been together now this is going into their second year together. Third, I think, coming up. And so now they're starting to get the hang of it. So I don't think we'll need it after this year.
Any other questions on PRs?
I got a couple.
Got
Advanced
one.
Imaging Systems, is this a new company or the existing company that we've been utilizing for student records? And if so, what's the performance on them? Because Hive has a ton of records that look like they aren't making any movement.
So I did some research on this particular item, and this is something that should have been, or that was done in maybe a year or two ago, and the payment is due.
And to answer your question, there have been samples or evidence of their work. I asked purchasing if they could, I was like, where's the evidence of this $250,000? What did they do? And they provided evidence, samples of their work.
Is this something that can't be done in-house through our IT department or something like that?
There's a possibility of us doing that. I had a conversation with our director of IT, and we are currently exploring what software, hardware, what type of storage devices we would need to maintain the enormous amount of records that we have at Hyde.
Ms. Stokes, you want to add anything? About Hyde?
Don't add anything about one.
Hyde?
The 250, the PR 250.
More so.
Which company is it for?
Advanced imaging.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Good evening. Advanced Imaging is a company that took over Scrib Orders, which is what we originally used for the records piece. And so in previous years, we were never charged the money when, for the storage of the records that they're actually doing, and/or when they come pick up records to digitize. We were not charged in the past. So around December, when Advanced Imaging took over, they started charging us. So there was not money allocated for that service, because in previous years, whatever money we made from the sale of transcripts and those things went directly to paying kind of the balance. So there was an agreement that we didn't have to pay anything. So with that being said, because we now have a new company, we're being charged. And so again, it wasn't money that was originally allocated, and we had to pay. So I do have Terry Allen and Colin working with me, trying to figure out, do we need to put all of this out for a bid to find a new company? But again, it had to be paid, so.
Thank you.
Can I ask you a question? So you mentioned two companies. How did the two companies, the current one that we're paying now that's starting in December, and the one that you mentioned that was prior to them, how has their performance been?
Say it again.
How have they performed? Like, does it work? Is the service something that is worth investing in at that level? Is it poor? Just anything, any feedback on what's going on with it? And people who are seeking to retrieve transcripts, especially if they haven't graduated in the last 20 years.
So I don't really know, other than the original company that we had the contract with sold to this company. So this company took over all of their work. And with that happening, they started charging us. And I'm looking at these bills and thinking, why are they charging us? They explained that because a new company, they took over, they're now charging us to store everything and digitize everything and to come pick up all of the records that we need to have digitized. So with that being said, I don't know.
So the new company hasn't showed they work, but the old company has.
Right, so
Okay.
again, I actually had a meeting today with Terry Allen and her team, and that was one of the things that I brought up. And so they talked about sending it all out for a bid now so that we have one company doing all of the work. Because the goal is to get all of the records at Hyde out and either digitized or arranged in a way that will be user-friendly. But looking into the company that we now are kind of saddled with because the other company took over, so that we don't have multiple companies doing the work. So like I said, that was the conversation today. Marvin will be included in that process because they said that there will be ongoing meetings that we'll have to have with them putting it out for a bid. And I'm not sure I answered the question, but.
You did. Thank you.
Appreciate you, Ms. Stokes. Thank you for the work you do.
Then I have 2 questions for the under 15.
Yes, sir.
So the first one is the Miami Valley Shooting Grounds. Regarding the requalification course for SROs, the SROs are no longer titled Special Police. So what exactly are we paying for with this course, and how is that different from the SRO course through the National Association they'll be taking? So the under 15,000, the Miami Valley Shooting Grounds. I just was curious on, this is an OPATA course, and since the SROs are no longer special polices and going through OPATA training, what exactly is this one, I would say?
I'll do the necessary research to find out. But I do believe that it was part of our negotiation discussion. So I'll get more specifics for you.
Okay. And then my next question, again, on the under 15, we're paying to rent restrooms at transportation from June 1, 2024 through, July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. So it says there's not enough adequate facilities, but I'm just curious of the renovations at transportation. So what exactly is this one?
So that happened when I was a business manager. We weren't sure that, well, there weren't adequate facilities at the service building when we moved out to move the transportation over there. So we weren't sure the project was going to end on time. You know, that happens a lot. But in fact, this time it's going to end on time. It'll be done in a couple of weeks. And so we will not pay the full balance of that.
Okay. That is it for me.
Any other questions?
Yes, on the college board. So I see this is at Stuyvesant. I know there has been some effort to include AP classes in our other high schools. Will we be seeing in the future any of those kind of classes actually coming to fruition this school year?
There are AP classes at every high school this year, so fruition is now.
Okay.
And then the extension of them, yes, you'll see an increase in the AP courses at all schools, but we now have AP at all high schools right now.
So we'll be seeing similar to how this testing is at Stivers, will we be seeing more of these placement tests, POs?
Let me look at this test and find out if it's for the testing itself as a test site, or you said placement test.
That's what it says on here.
If it says placement test, then yeah, you will see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, we're purchasing the AP test. We'll have the test out.
Okay, this is one final question. This one's for you, Dr. Jones. The Faster Asset Solution, which transportation software is this actually the maintenance for?
I believe that this is for our routers.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, I have one more question. GFS, is this the only supplier that we utilize, and is this like the best price point we're getting for the supplies that are listed on there?
I do believe this is an annual deal. I don't know that we have explored other companies or other organizations in terms of food and paper products, but we can do so.
All right, thank you.
President Smith, I need to go on record. Dr. Gilman asked me about the international students and if they were able to be part of the MOU support, after school supports with and mentoring, tutoring, and activities if they left the international school. And the answer is, irregardless of where they go, they'll still be supported.
Okay. Any other questions on purchase requisitions? Seeing none, can we move on to your next recommendation, Madam Treasurer?
I recommend, this one is for approval. I recommend the approval of the following then and now.
Entertain a motion?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Okay,
That concludes my recommendation.
thank you, Madam Treasurer. Dr. Jones?
Yes, I recommend ratification of Section 5A, Business Manager, Human Resources recommendations.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any questions?
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin?
Yes, on the supplementals for our fall sports, how many vacancies do we still have open? And kind of what are the vacancies, the positions that are open? Is it possible for the website to match that and not just have every position that we have? Because I see some positions on here still being advertised as open online.
Yes, we can certainly update that list online. And I sent a document earlier with all of our fall sports openings.
Is the processing of the individuals who get offered positions, a coaching position, is that going smoother?
Yes, yes.
All right, so I just want to echo the conversation we had at the last HR piece of the goal is not to get to the point again of hiring individuals and us not seeing them until months after they're hired. There has to be some order at this piece of getting those individuals processed timely.
Got it. And currently, it looks like we have 39 open positions, but they're for golf, tennis, cross country, volleyball, primarily golf and tennis, and in some places cross country.
If individuals are interested in those positions, how can they get in contact with you guys?
They can actually go through our human resources page, as well as the Dayton Consortium, or they can contact Human Resources, one of our HR partners. And I do not know that extension, but I can make sure that it's on the website, on the actual.
Okay, final question for you. Does the referral program, are there any referral programs for some of these positions? Are there anything like that in the works?
There hasn't been anything like that in the works, but I think that would be a really great idea. I know we've done it for DEA, and so I'd like to explore that.
It's kind of hard to hear you. Can you just talk up just a little bit?
Yeah, I said, so we've not explored anything like that, but I do think it's a great idea. If we're really looking at building out our athletic programs, providing an incentive to current coaches or even current teachers to recruit those individuals. I mean, recruiting is a district-wide effort. It's an all-hands-on-deck effort. We can't relegate those roles and responsibilities to just HR or just athletics. And so I will definitely start to look into that.
Yeah, so I would ask too, if you have a proposal that you can bring to the Board of Education specifically too, since now that we have our athletic directors and coordinators in the buildings and we are seeking to increase our sports offering, golf and tennis have been sports that have not really been offered everywhere. So I do know that those are a little bit more specialized when it comes to finding individuals who actually perform in those roles. So whatever we can do to make it a possibility for the students to have this experience, as this is serving as our current at-risk program, because it keeps children active beyond the school days. So if there is something that as a board we can do that we are not currently doing that can help us kind of fill some positions that we have not had over the last 3 years, just please bring it to us so we can at least have the conversation and possibly try to see if that is something that as a body we want to move forward with.
Most definitely.
All right.
So first question for me is if I can pull item 11 until after executive session. And then the second question is, with regards to the assistant coaching positions, does every sport get a stipend, or is every sport able to hire a paid assistant coach, or is it only select variety sports?
I believe it's a select variety, but I can get that information for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the second question I have is with regards to payment of coaches. I see one coach that is girls basketball that is $9,000 at one high school, but then another high school girls basketball coach is at $2,000. So can I just get a understanding as to why the difference?
Oh, yeah, it's part of the DEA contract for coaches.
They're in steps as well.
Yep, there's a 5-scale payment for supplementals.
Is that at the middle school where it's the 2,000?
It,
Yeah, I think that might be a middle school one.
Which line
okay,
is
yeah,
it?
it just said, Belmont, and I just was curious. It doesn't say Belmont Middle, it just says
Yeah.
It
Belmont.
is, since there's such a great variance, it's
Yeah.
probably
Middle, 'cause
middle.
it's the same as E.J. Brown.
They both say head.
Yeah, it's a middle school.
So head, middle, and head high school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then is there, I will ask that offline.
Okay.
Board Member Walker, on your first question about the assistant coach, so part of the athletic regulations that we're working on does put that ratio out there where it is, the ratio is 1 to 10 right now, but that's based on kind of the standards that we have for the coaches that we have from the OSHA standards. But it's working, athletic advisory is working on putting more of the things that we know on paper. So it is not just a nebulous or formula, it is something that individuals can actually come to.
Yeah, and I think for me it was, I look at boys sports, and boys will have assistant coaches that are getting paid. Girls sports will have assistant coaches that are just sitting there and volunteering their time. So I don't see how it's equivalent or equal to them actually doing the job of an assistant coach when they're basically volunteer, whereas their colleague that's a different gender is actually getting paid for their work.
It's a great point.
That was it that I had.
All right, I got a couple. So I see we're putting them on basically the cheerleading coaches for fall and then winter. What does that look like? How does that pay come out? And you don't have to look through it all now, I just wanted to put it on your radar. Seeing that those seasons overlap. So we're paying one from, say we're paying August 1st to December, then the other one's getting paid 10/25 to March. Are they gonna be broken out? Are they gonna be lumped in and then get taxed? So I think that's one of the pieces we do get from coaches is as well as just how those pays come out. So I would just ask if you look into those.
2 installments during the season.
Okay, for each one, then, right?
For each one,
And
right.
not lumping it. Okay. And then I would ask, as we look into that assistant conversation or the ability to pay assistants, if we look at also not just number, because I think numbers, if we go strictly numbers across the board for sports, you're not going to capture each sport. So for instance, soccer, their numbers will look differently. But if I can get to it, if I don't reach say X number and I don't then have 2 coaches that I can pay, but I still may have a varsity and JV team. And then I'm looking at how am I gonna do that, and then we're looking at how we develop that. So I think part of that conversation is looking at numbers and also I think teams. But then having some fair way to market and maybe even just by sport instead of having a universal number. I think that's just because I don't want then also running into some of the situations we've seen in the past where people create a freshman or a JV team and it's really 3 people that didn't play full
Right.
varsity, and so we're running into that.
Okay.
But I think that's kind of that nuanced conversation with some of these sports, if you're gonna try to grow it, is how do we look at having those assistants there, not only just by number, but by the teams that we're getting, because if we're getting freshman, JV, varsity, JV in some spaces, I think we have to look into those and make sure we have those coverages there. And then just even growing it. I mean, none of our soccer teams grow right now, and they have 15 to 19 players because one person cannot teach that and
Right.
teach 3 different positions on that.
Right.
And so you have people just quit and go on to play select.
Yep.
So I appreciate that one.
Definitely.
And then if you could not only put out those positions that are open, but then also work with athletics to get an understanding with our athletic coordinators to make sure they understand what each sport looks like, as far as with some of the golf and tennis, the numbers we need to even have a team, some of the different sports where we can actually combine and have one coach at multiple sites. So having them with a full breadth of knowledge around what they can do, and so they can have the best collaborative approach to try to get some of these spaces filled.
Got it.
That's all I have. Any other questions?
I got one more.
Woodwine, then Walker.
There we go.
Dr. Lawrence, what's our student to teacher ratio?
Depends on what grade it is, per the DEA contract. Sixth grade is one pop comes to mind. I think it's 29-1. So that's the first one I can recall off the top of my head.
Okay. So I will say in athletic advisory, the conversation we've had on these ratios, we're kind of looking at kind of what our teachers are having to do and what the sports are having to do. And I think as that conversation keeps going, just knowing the balance of what we can afford and what we can actually do and the fairness across the board of what that is, keep that in mind. That's it. I mean, the rest of it, we have the regulations. Some of the stuff that Board President Smith has mentioned is in kind of some of the regulations that we have been writing of taking the stuff that OSHA kind of already lines out, some of these things, and we're just finally adopting it because we can't play in a tournament if we fall below the OSHA numbers of establishment. So it is good to know that that work is already occurring because we're trying to get beyond people doing exactly what he identified. I just create a new team and I have this one, but it's really not a team there.
Right.
So, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, no, Walker, you had one.
Just looking at this and just was curious. The bus driver trainees, are they a part of the union as well?
I believe they are not, are they? I don't think they're mentioned in the negotiated agreement, so they're not.
You got President
You
shaking
got
her
the
head.
OG
No,
right there, she can
she's
tell
right
you.
there. She's like, nah, they know.
No,
They're not like that.
no, they're not.
Seek wise counsel.
I didn't see it.
I mean, the council sitting behind me, like. So, which brings me to my question of, has there been any discussion regarding to the pay of bus driver trainees? Seeing that, I mean, they come in at $12 an hour.
Right, there hasn't been any discussions that I know of about increasing pay for bus driver trainees.
You said $12
They
an
get
hour?
18.
No, actually, it was 16, and then Miss Winfrey and I worked together to ask the board for a raise to
Yeah.
$2, 18.
18 right now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's 16 to 18.
18 says substitute bus driver. For bus driver trainees, I saw it on here for $12.
No. Yeah.
I'm looking.
All right, may want to go back and look at that one.
We'll definitely.
Somebody
go
had
back
sent
and
me
go.
something, that's why I was curious.
Okay.
It's not on
Yeah,
tonight.
what's the name on here?
Yeah,
But
So
a
it's a
bus driver
trainee
trainee
position.
isn't on here tonight at all.
it's not, it was
a
just a
substitute.
question that I had because I saw one on here. Appreciate you.
Any other questions?
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't need to pull that. I'll just vote on that one separately.
All right, that's fine. All right, any other questions?
He's voting on number 11 separate.
Oh, number 11 separate. Okay.
Anything else for Dr. Jones? I will say, Dr. Jones, I appreciate the number of positions being filled ahead of these seasons as well. I just wanted to see how we can keep moving on that as we bring in our new athletic coordinators in the building. If we have no other questions, may we have a vote? This is for everything minus line 11.
Okay. President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt. Yes. 7 yeses.
All right, now we're going to line 11. So just for line 11. May I have a vote?
Okay. President Smith,
Yes?
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
No.
Ms. Reinhardt. Yes. 6 yeses, 1 no.
Thank you. Does it conclude your recommendations? Thank you, Dr. Jones. I appreciate you. Next, I recommend approval of a board member travel to attend the following National Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association Annual Conference.
That's
Where
me.
is it?
Athletic.
I'm with you on that one, Doc.
I'll second it.
Any questions?
Is this for a vote?
Yes.
Yes.
That's for 2 weeks?
I gotta ask about that. That's a long time. That
So
can't
she
be
was about
right.
to get that smack back.
Yeah, I don't think that date is right. Cause I can't be off work.
Do you want us to hold off till you get the date changed?
Ms. Kidd, can you check that date?
Miss Kids usually stuff in here correct.
No, we can go with it. I know it's less than that. It's a week. It's less than.
All right.
Yeah.
It's trying to get us. All right. Any questions? Seeing none, maybe have a vote.
President Smith,
Yeah.
I would have to say
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
yes.
Dr. Bailey, Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Next, I recommend approval of the following resolution to pay for services rendered for Tiffany Powell to compensate for time served as interim business manager from November 21st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024.
Second.
Any questions? Seeing none,
I do want to say.
I just want
go ahead.
I will thank Ms. Powell for her time working as the interim business manager.
Dr. Goodwin?
Just echo that. Thank you for the time serving as the business manager. Just appreciate it. It was a hard job, and she gave us the best she could.
All right, any other questions, comments? Seeing none, maybe have a vote.
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Dr. Goodwin, did you have anything today?
Yes, resolutions to adopt board policy, first reading. In so much as the Board of Education is committed to the continuing updating of its policies, rules, and regulations manual, and the committee which was appointed has been working towards that goal. The following are brought at this time for first reading in compliance with Board File BFC, policy adoptions. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Education of the Dayton City School District, Montgomery County, Ohio, hereby accepts and adopts the following policies that have been codified for inclusion in the Handbook of Policies, Rules, and Regulations, GBCBC, Building Access and Safety, IGDL, Athletic Attendance Zone for Eligibility, KMB, Relations with Booster Organizations. These policies are being read for the first time. As such, a motion or second is not required. The policies will be available in the superintendent's office for review and comment prior to the second reading and adoption by the Board of Education. Furthermore, the policies will be reviewed by the superintendent's office, the board office, and the legal department of the Dayton Public Schools prior to the second reading. I do want to say, on the top of that, the policy committee, today we actually voted to also start putting our minutes from our meetings for individuals who would like to see what's happening in there on the board docs as well. So you guys, as well as other people, can keep up with that. We also passed a regulation today to extend the DSS's leave time to match the rest of the district, to grow it from 3 days to 5 days. And that was actually came through us because a staff member actually brought that to the attention. We put it for discussion. The policy committee agreed, and that change has been implemented and is in effect. That's all.
All right. Any questions? We'll encourage the board to make sure that they go check out Any policies, any questions on policies before they come up for a second reading? Also, you can reach out to the policy committee chair or any other policy committee members as well. Appreciate you, Dr. Goodwine, and those on the policy committee. Now, just a quick, we have executive session. So I will ask, do we want to move to executive session? Or would you all, do you have any new business that you would like to share before we move to executive session?
Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm looking down at you guys. Or can we just move to executive session first?
Yeah, I'd say 121.22.
There we go. You know you messed it all up. Pursuant to section 121.22G2 of the Ohio Revised Code, I move that this board go into executive session. This meeting is being held to consider the appointment, employment, and dismissal of a public employee, as well as confer with an attorney involving pending or imminent court action. May I have a second?
Second.
Moving second. Any questions? Seeing none, may we have a vote?
President Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Wick,
Yes.
Dr. Goodwine,
Yes.
Dr. Bailey,
Yes.
Mr. Lacy,
Yes.
Mr. Walker,
Yes.
Ms. Reinhardt.
Yes.
7 yeses.
Thank you. Head up. Let the record show the Board of Education of Dayton City School District has just completed an executive session during which we considered the appointment, employment, dismissal of public employee for attorney involving pending or imminent court action. Have a second to return to our regular.
Second.
Oh, just forgot. Just appointing.
I don't know what you did, but I second.
All right. Any questions?
He's doing math right now.
We have a vote.
That's how I say that.
President Smith?
There we go.
Yes. Karen Wick?
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Ms. Bailey, yes. Joe Lacy?
Yes.
Eric Walker?
Yes.
I didn't say not. Jocelyn Reinhardt?
Yes.
All right. Let the record show that Dr. William Bailey has appointed to fill as our treasurer pro temp for the remainder of the meeting. Now, going back to HR. We have 2 items for HR vote.
President Smith,
Yes.
I will move, I will motion to approve item 33 and item 15 from HR recommendations.
I'll second that, sir. Any questions?
What's the numbers again?
33 and 15.
33 and 15. There are no questions, may we have a vote? We got, President Smith? Yes. Karen Wick?
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin?
Yes.
Yes for me. Joe Lacy?
Yes.
Eric Walker?
Yes.
Jocelyn Reinhardt?
Yes.
Is there anything, any other unfinished agenda item? None? All right. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
May we have a vote? Did you get President Smith? Yes. Karen Wick?
Yes.
Dr. Goodwin?